But yeah, so I figured, hey, you know what? It's pretty meaty. So I'm not sure exactly what that means to adapt. I mean, I'm imagining it is to adapt Amico games that were designed specifically for the Amico controller so that they can be played without the Amico controller, thus breaking the tie between Amico and these games. You're not going to be able to use the Amico controller on the Nintendo Switch or the Steam version of the game. So again, that makes sense. Was that a third? Yeah, Nintendo Switch, PC, and Mac. Uneven and PC. So I guess if there's a Mac version of the game that isn't on Steam or something, I don't know if there's. I think there's Steam for Mac, right? Get in the comments where whatever. Then you wouldn't be able to use the hardware on those versions, and that's why they're called Happy Home games instead of Amigo Entertainment games. I understand. I get the point. That's what I've always been about from the beginning of this whole adventure for Amico, with the hardware or not hardware or controllers or not controllers. The games themselves are fun. I like playing them. So if I can play them on more things, cool. If there's going to be some features that are exclusive to Amico versions via Amico Home, great. But I will say this. It's disappointing for me right now because I really want to play with the controller, right? I really want to, because I know what it felt like when I played back in the day in PA. I want to be able to play these games with that controller on these platforms somehow. Like the Amico Home versions, the Android, the Apple TV, the iOS, like that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure they're going to wind up getting the ability to play with the controller.
Honestly, I'm really only interested in hardware news. And so, evidently, everything from here down is, I guess, the foundations of where they're going to start building hardware. They're building financial stability. And I genuinely hope it works. I really do. If anything, for all the crap that these guys have gotten, I'm not saying whether it was needless or needed, but what I'm saying is after all this time, we still have people working on this, regardless of what you think. Regardless of what you think. And I have asked John privately a number of times in like the tester chat, about hardware. And I've opened up the idea to me actually physically working on hardware. More importantly, the controller. Yeah, I still do have my Amicos. People have asked me about that. My hopes are that this is what they're talking about. Yeah, I would love the console, but I don't see that happening anytime in the near future anyway. But I could very well see something like this happen. And they've teased it a number of times over the past year or two, whatever it's been. And I said, I just got my J Standard and my 510 certifications, which is, soldering, surface mount, and all kinds of stuff. I said, if you need it, send the components to me within reason, and I will help you bang some of these out. Whatever. Amico Home. Oh, let's talk about Amico Happy Homes. Or Happy Games, or whatever. What is it? Happy Home Games. Guys, no one get mad at me. I think that sounds stupid. I think the name is stupid.
It's finally come back. Forever is forever.
What's up?
John Alvarado, the man, the legend, the guy that keeps this flame going. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on today. And
Belly says I'm a bad person.
Wait, who does?
Pork Belly.
Pork Belly.
I for what I did, I'm a bad person. No, that's bad.
So hey, I got let's keep talking about just in the Discord. Briefly, I just want to ask you did answer a question about emails that were sent out. Did you want to touch on that real quick on what was in the Discord about refund dates?
Oh yeah. So before I get to that, let me just kind of frame things a little bit for people because there were some comments here in this chat that people are pretty upset about what happened with the Amico and the console not coming out on time and all that. And at a certain point, not that long ago, I started dealing with the support tickets because it had been neglected. when we were down to a skeleton crew and one person was doing it and then that person left. And so there's a huge backlog of tickets, and a lot of them are pretty negative. People just venting, and rightly so, because they've been disappointed, in their expectations, and a lot of them are really accusing us of trying to scam people and that it was never real and things like that. You guys have heard that narrative before.
Oh yeah, a million times, yeah.
So I just wanted to explain that, we started this company to make this console and on this mission to bring family together. And we had every hope and expectation to succeed. Now we were biting off a huge piece because making a new console is a huge endeavor. So we knew it was a high risk, but we were, willing to try to make it happen. And things didn't go as we planned. Things took a lot longer than we expected. And ultimately the company ran out of money before it could manufacture the console. Our last fundraiser that we tried to do to get the money we would need to manufacture, crashed and burned. It didn't work out. There were a lot of people naysaying it and naysaying us at the time, so that affected it. But ultimately, when that closed down, that really cut us off at the knees. So we continued. That was like in 2022, I think, early, maybe March, something like that. And we continued on. We had to pretty soon lay off a lot of people right after that, and we still had enough people though that we went on and created the pilot units that we sent out to a lot of people. For testing, just to show these things really work. They're real. We sent it to people outside of the company, and you received one, Chuck and Mike Mullis and several other people, to show that it was real. We had it. It's something that we could manufacture if we had the money, but we didn't have the money anymore. And we were hoping that doing that would allow us to kind of pull in some investment, someone that would be interested and say, okay, yeah, let's make this. But that didn't happen. So after a while, we had to basically lay off everybody, including me,
No.
So,
yeah, I know. And a lot of times you were working for free trying to just keep it going.
Well, exactly. So at that point, we could have just packed it in and said, well, we tried, we failed, we'll declare bankruptcy, and that would have been the end, and nobody would have gotten any refunds back. No one would have gotten a console. No one would have ever played the games. But a handful of us, including me, decided that we want to try to keep this alive. And we're willing to work for free for a while to at least try out this other idea. Well, let's get these games out as software on other platforms and see if we can leverage the work that we've done on the games to create some revenue and keep going and try to, repair the company to the point where we could then start generating money and maybe attract some investment and get back to the goal of creating the console. And so we were doing that, and then we eventually sold some IPs, including the Intellivision brand, which was a huge one.
The classic, yeah.
To get some money to kind of keep us alive as we're going, because you can't work for free forever. But taking very little pay to keep going and try to keep the dream alive, and that's what we've been doing. So while I understand people's frustrations, it's also frustrating for me personally to receive those comments when I'm the person trying to make sure that everybody gets either their refund or their console, hopefully the latter, right? And so, but I understand, and I try, like, every time we do an announcement, we get a lot of emails of a few good comments, but a lot of negative comments, and I'm trying to answer those as best I can and try to help people understand the situation and why I'm trying to work for them. I'm not their enemy, So. As I mentioned, being down to a skeleton crew, I had to take over the support tickets, and there were a lot of them. There were so many. And sometimes people, when you stop answering support tickets, people send them multiple times saying, answer me, why haven't you answered me? So it was multiplied even. So I needed, I also took over handling the refunds. So in order to try to give people an idea of when they might get the refund, I need to know how many refund requests there are, because the people that asked earlier are first in line. And, I was answering new tickets, but I couldn't really give them an estimate of when theirs would happen because there was still a bunch I hadn't processed in the backlog. So I decided to write a program that would use AI to go through all the tickets, pull them down from our customer service website, and then have the AI analyze the ticket to tell me, kind of categorize it. Is this someone asking for a refund, or is it someone asking for or is it spam? That was the other big, because we get so much
Right.
spam, and just going through the spam and trying to find the real people is a chore. Is it just spam, or is it some other kind of question actually related to Amico? And classify them, and then if it is a request for refund, try to pull out information I need to find their pre-order programmatically. Like, if did they mention an order number, what's their last name, what's their email, and put it into a structure that I get back from the AI. And so once it goes through all those, then I have them all in order from oldest to newest, and I can go through all the requests for refund, try to find, now this part is programmatic, it's not AI, try to find their order in the database, and then generate an email, again, just programmatically generate an email to them saying their order is added to the queue, and add it to the queue. And then what I did was have the program also calculate based on their position in the queue when the best estimate of when they would get the refund based on our current rate of refunds, which is not very high because we have very little cash flow. We're being very conservative right now. So we are issuing refunds, but it's at a low rate, honestly.
Because it's based on the income.
It's what we can sustain right now. But we do expect that to improve as we generate more income. And I mentioned that in the emails. But unfortunately, some people that are at the end of the queue got some dates that were really far out there, and that were quite shocking, frankly. So that's what happened. And I explained that on the Discord because some people asked, even though we actually have rules about not asking about refunds and not asking about future business, and just look on the roadmap if you want to know about what's coming in the future. Because I like to keep the conversation focused on the current product,
and it gets a little
feedback.
heated. Yeah.
But I felt like that was a fair question, and it really deserved an answer. So I did basically give the explanation I just gave to you. So all estimates of when you'll get refund are just estimates, and it's going to change because it's going to vary from month to month how much we can allocate for refunds. But it is my goal to keep the company alive and keep it growing and improving so that we can get everyone the refund, and for the people that are willing to hang on, get them their consoles. So that's my goal. That's the goal of Phil Adam and Tommy and Jason Enos and a few of the people that we have employed still that are helping us with the engineering on Amico Home and all that. That's our goal, and we are on your side. We're not your enemy if you have a refund that's late or you're waiting for a console. So I appreciate the frustration you're going through if you're one of those people, and I appreciate the support that you've given us, and I just hope you will understand what the situation is, and hopefully give us some grace so that we can just keep going and try to build this company up to where we can achieve the goal.
So, John, I heard that you guys have a marketing budget put aside for this. So do you have a target? Your target audience in mind is going to be a lot smaller with your mobile games than it would have been with a physical product on the shelf. Have you guys kind of readjusted how you're looking to communicate with that new audience? I mean,
well, I'm not involved intimately in that part of what we're doing. We have engaged a marketing company that's helping us, and Tommy is primarily spearheading that with the marketing company. We do want to have something that's more direct, targeted advertising. He's mentioned that, like targeting the groups or the areas that are our target audience, basically, families, young families. That's kind of all I know about it. I might, maybe if I come on again, I might have more info later, but that's set to start next month. So you'll be able to see it in the wild for what it is. If you have ideas, I would love to hear them. If you want to communicate with us offline about that. I really respect your knowledge and perspective on these things, so would love to hear any suggestions you have for sure.
I guess that's kind of talking what Code's asking right here. Any attempts of getting acquired with someone like a Sony or a Nintendo to either acquire or build? Yeah,
well, I mean that's a potential kind of a ultimate exit strategy, right? You either go public or you get acquired by somebody if your company is doing well, and ultimately that could happen. I see this company as something that would get acquired versus going public, but we'll see. We've got to take first steps first and get to a healthy position of profitability, then get the hardware out, and at that point decide what's next. Do we look to get acquired, or do we just keep steam rolling ahead?
Yeah. I'm just hoping that you guys can get,
there's a lot of buckets to fill. You've got to, finish the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hoping you guys can get enough to just, get out a console for maybe the founders and people that had deposits, and because that's really what it's about at this point, is just kind of getting that out. Hey, and if that comes out and all of a sudden it takes off, and that's great. Let's make some more games. But even having a lot of your guys' games on the other stuff that's coming out, so that's something, man. It really is something to say that this is still alive,
Mm-hmm.
Mike should be coming in. I sent him 2 links already.
So I see a comment. Someone's asking about, is Tommy involved with the marketing company? Tommy had been very involved in marketing the company and being kind of the face of the company for a long time, and until we started having problems, and he started getting a lot of negative feedback from the online community.
Yeah.
And for a while, he had to take a leave of absence. He kind of went through, and it was not too long after we were having all these troubles and having to lay people off that his father became very ill and then passed away. And Tommy went through a really difficult time then, and frankly a period of depression where he was struggling, and his marriage was in trouble, and they split up for a little while, and so he was in a dark way. But something that his father told him in his final days was kind of the key to him getting out of that. And he's mentioned this story, so I feel okay sharing it as well. He's talked about this publicly, but in his dad's last days when he was in hospice there in Tommy's home, he couldn't get out of bed, so Tommy would play backgammon with him at the bedside and talk with him. And his dad was trying to give him words of encouragement and advice in his last days, and was telling him how proud he is of him, and that he believes in him and believes that he can do anything he focuses his mind on. And he said, for example, this game we're playing here, if you wanted to become the world backgammon champion, I think you could do it if you set your mind to it.
Yeah.
So later, when he was really struggling to figure out why, what is my purpose, and why should I get up today or get up tomorrow or do anything, that kind of came back to him, and he started playing backgammon, just with an app and stuff, and trying to improve his game. And eventually he decided to join a local club, which happened to be a very good club with a lot of world-class players in it. And they really took him in and treated him very well, and he started getting better, started taking lessons, and started doing tournaments, and was winning, and was getting better and better. And it ultimately culminated in him going to this world championship tournament in Monaco.
Yeah.
And he was in the division just below pro. Like, you kind of climb the divisions. You start out kind of novice and you go up. And he was already at the division just below pro after just a few tournaments. And it was a world championship for that division. And he ended up winning and sort of fulfilling what his father had said. And that was a huge, huge moment for him. And after that, they kicked him up into the pro level. Now he's now in the pro level, because they said you reached kind of the top of that division, and so he's continued to play in tournaments and has won trophies in the pro level. He won a trophy in Las Vegas recently at a tournament where he lost an early game and got into the consolation division and ended up winning there, so he got a trophy. So he's like one of the most trophy winning guys for the number of tournaments that he's actually been in. It's pretty incredible. But that just goes to show his level of focus and commitment when he commits to something. And his commitment to the company was so huge. He's a workaholic, and he would just be working all the time to try to figure out how we could succeed, how we could solve the issues we're having. That, of course, put a strain on his marriage, and that's a reason why they split up. But they're back together now.
Yeah.
They're happily married, and he's doing so much better now. He's very involved in the company. After he started doing better, he started getting involved again, and he's very involved now. And I'm happy to have him back. I really missed him while he was gone.
That's good.
But yeah, and it's just like, again, it's just sad how much negativity was thrown at him that didn't help when in those low times. And
everything kind of
going to his
even
stuff going to his family and to his wife, and people harassing her. and especially when they found out they'd split, they were trying to get her to give them dirt on Tommy, figuring she'd be maybe vindictive or something, but she's not that kind of person at all. She's like the most kind-hearted spirit and lovely person you'd ever want to meet. Very sweet lady, and but they would still, she gets messages all the time, people harassing her, and it's just such a shame. Yeah. But he's doing so much better now, and they're together, and I'm really happy for him. He changed some priorities in his life to make sure he's taking care of his marriage and his family life, and that's great. I love to see that.
Yeah.
Because it takes work. I mean, and if you guys are married, it takes work. You can't just take it for granted. I've been married over 30 years. It'll be 34 years this September, and you got to be careful not to put too much of yourself into work, although that's what brings home the bacon to feed your family and all that and provide for your family, so it often feels justified. But you've got to have some priorities where you devote the work and the time that's needed for your wife and your kids. So I'm happy to see Tommy doing better in that way, and yes, he's very involved, and he's involved in a lot of it, but he's in particular, as I mentioned, he's the point man for the marketing stuff that we're doing with an external company.
No, that's awesome, man. And I've kept in touch, over the last couple of years, and it's I've seen a couple video games live shows, which is always fun, and yeah, I've seen him. He's doing so much better, and it's he went through a rough time where everything hit him at once, including all this Amico stuff, and
his health was bad too. He went through a bad health at that very bad time. He was having a bad health issue, but he's recovered from that as well. So it was a lot, and I'm glad to see him doing well now.
Yeah, and I just can't wait to just see him get back at it, and I'm really pushing for you guys to make something of what happened, kind of dust off and get back up. You get knocked down, you got to get back up, dust yourself off, and keep the flame going. A million other whatever you can call it that I've said over the hour, but that's the whole reason I support and always have, is because I know you guys, and I know you guys.
Hi, Mike. People. I didn't notice you come in while I was talking, telling the story.
I was just hanging. It's been way too long, gentlemen.
Yes.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too, John. That's always been the kind of the allure of this. So, if you grant me a second, because I've had some pent up, I've had some pent up stuff. And I'm not. Hello to everybody. This is a rare YouTube sighting for me. I don't use YouTube anymore. I basically left because of this, not because of you guys, of course, but because some of those people who are probably watching, like you, Chuck, they hate me because I am holding on to supporting Amico and what Amico is about as a father of more than anything. I mean, I love playing this stuff, but as a dad, and so go after me, and it's I have friends that are like, come on, it can't be that bad, and I'm like, dude, put my name in a YouTube search, and you'll see some of the most vile stuff that has been over a video game console, and they've gone after my kids, which is what really drove me off of the platform, was went after my kids for the crime of really having fun playing cornhole, and really having fun playing Shark, and really having fun, 3 or 4 of us playing Astro Smash.